our spirits were like really down. And they say like if you can try to perform in the most hardest moments and just give it your all, that's like whenever a champion arises.
Welcome to United States Fingerboarding League Fingerboard Podcast. I'm your host, LeVine Cunningham, and I'm excited to be chatting with Austin Taylor with Fresh Baked Fingerboards.
Good to be here.
So Austin is also known as Fresh Baked Fingerboards on Instagram. I mean, Austin, we got some history and stuff together for sure. I've known you for a couple years. We'll talk about that here in a bit, but first things first, tell us a little bit about your fingerboarding background. Like, how did you get into fingerboarding?
It's been a long time frame. Forgot to grab a photo of it, but I have like a photo where I was skateboarding at 3 years old with my mom. So skateboarding's been like from a toddler all the way up. But I had a older sibling that was like a couple years older, so I'm pretty sure I was around him and I seen him skateboard and stuff. Cause like I oddly remember him coming over to my house and stuff, and the skateboards being like in our little garage. And then I had tech decks and stuff growing up through the years. Uh, like I can remember like flipping one when I was probably like 6 or 7 at one of our houses, and it was like a Little World Industries one, and it kind of fast forwarded into when we were getting into like the 2008, 2006, 2007 era, where I was in going into middle school almost. But I was in 6th grade, so like 5th and 6th grade and stuff like that. They had these little bitty, little teeny tiny wrestlers, and they were like little pocket ones, and everybody had them in school. So like tech decks weren't really as wide range popular with everybody, but those were. And then like right when I started getting into high school, I was like, oh, nobody's gonna really like take you serious if you have something like that anymore. And then I remember like my mom took me to a Kmart, and she's like, go get you something or whatever. And I'd been around my cousin, who's a little bit younger than I was, and he had like a lot of the tech decks because he was into skateboarding and stuff, but he was into that part of skateboarding. Like he was actually fully invested, had the cases full of the decks and stuff. And I remember like, like as the older cousin, you're always just like, or one of your cousins, you always kind of are like, you pick at them about it. And you're like, oh man, like, why do you do that or whatever? And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, why don't I actually try this? And I remember like, she's like, go pick what you want. And I was like, I'm going to go get a tech deck. And I went to the tech deck aisle, and they had like all these boards that are like really rare to find now that are worth a lot of money. And I was just like, I grabbed this one that was a blue blind, and I don't have the deck anymore, but like ever since then, I wound up getting that one. And then I got a few other ones, and I wound up getting another tech deck, and I got like really serious with it. Like I started getting good with like grinds and stuff. So the deck started looking like it was really used, but it was a Sean Malto. And I remember like buying, I'd always like Rodney Mullen and people like that. But I remember buying the Tech Deck pack, and it had like, it was a Transworld one where you got the DVD with them. And I remember it opened up like Richie Jackson, like Corey Hole. There's like a bunch of other like famous skateboarders in there, and like Sean Malto and stuff. And they started influencing like how I was like building a style, like how I like from Rodney Mullen to more of like the hippie freestyle skating. And that's how like what influenced a lot of my style and wanting to take things more serious and learn how to actually like do more freestyle or off the wall type tricks.
No, definitely. That's pretty interesting. I remember like the Transworld days. I still have a lot of VHS like 411 videos. I don't know if you remember those. The 411 videos were like they were kind of setting the skateboarding culture stage back then. Like I remember those to the T.
Yeah, and then like we did have like skate parks and stuff around here. Like I don't think they were like really, because I didn't get to hang around them because most of where I lived at was like it was kind of the rougher kind of skateboarding type scenes. Like most skaters were like not really the like good type kids and stuff, and were kind of the badder scene type skateboard kids. And so I never really got to hang around with a lot of the skateboard kids that were actually in my area or at any of the parks or anything. Because I did like one time, and I remember going with my cousin or something like that. And, like everybody was, I think, like smoking and drinking and stuff out there. And then like my mom had let me hang out with him for like an hour, and all that happened. But they had a park, and this woman wound up trying to like build a scene repeatedly, and it's just something always kept messing up with her. Like she wound up opening in our mall, and she had she tried to influence like everything, like if it was tech deck or whatever, like somebody liked, like she even had like people that like hip hop dancing and stuff like that come to there. And it just wound up all the time not being where money could be made in this area, and everything skateboarding wound up like going down the drain. Like we have a park now, and they built like one of those wood kind of looking yellow textured BMX type parks beside it too now. So there's like one of those. But other than that, we have like a teeny tiny shop that opens up and then it opens somewhere else every so often.
So where exactly are you located for our viewers that are trying to get a picture of like
Where I live at, it's like between in Chatsworth and Dalton, Georgia, which like Dalton, Georgia, for like most people who wouldn't know, is like the carpet capital of the world. So like where all your carpet and stuff would come from, they have all the carpet mills here, like Mohawk, Shaw, like Engineered Floors, all those companies. They all originated a lot in this area and like kind of build up their monopoly in this area.
so how did fresh baked fingerboards become a thing? Like how did you like what just made you decide to just become a fingerboarding company?
Well, see that was in the same way. Like I'd gotten really serious with the one stuff, and then I don't remember what it was. I just had this dumb idea to go on YouTube, and so YouTube had only been around a couple years in that time frame. Whenever like I first picked up Tech Deck, and I remember pulling up. It wasn't Mike Schneider first. There was like I can't remember his name, if it's Alexis Milan or something like that, or whatever his name is, that did the weird optical illusion videos. And he would do them with like the older tech decks, but like he'd have like an older style camera, and you'd see him like ride around, and there'd be like little pillars made out of like Jenga blocks or like bottles or whatever. And then he'd do like a kick flip, and he would like slide down the side of a thing and go back. And that had like couple hundred thousands or millions of views at the time on that. And I remember like discovering him. I discovered like Mike Schneider, the Dirty Harry, uh ASI Berlin, like a lot of them. And I was like, there's a scene for this out there. And I was just like, but I didn't ever know this. How would I have never known this? Because they didn't have any like anything. My cousins didn't have anything where it was anything wood. It was all like mass produced, you go buy it at the store type stuff. It was not like any unnamed people that you would have to actually like go directly to them.
I grew up on those days, the tech tech days. I grew up on the tech tech days where like everything was still made out of metal. And so we had hard plastic ramps with metal coping, stuff like that. And so I remember those vividly. And so what's the rest of the story? I feel like we haven't quite got to the nitty gritty.
Well, so whenever I started like looking at a lot of those, I started getting like I was already in middle school, and I just hadn't really we didn't really have money for the to get wood decks. And wound up Tech Deck started making the competition ones out of wood. And I remember the first one I got of that was like the Baker one. And it was like this blue Baker one. And I remember like everybody's like, oh, that ain't real wood, that's fake and whatever. And like they were all like down in it. I was like, oh dude, this is real wood. But like in my time frame now, I'm like, that was like cheap basic wood that's not really like anything like everybody's doing now. That's like a lower quality wood and craftsmanship in comparison to what's now. And I remember getting that, and I can't remember if it was just like I kind of had started this whole like biasness around that time frame. After I started using wood, I was like, I'm not going back to plastic ever again. And I stopped really using and being involved with Tech Deck, and I started seeing all these like other brands keep popping up, and it was just so hard to always afford them. But I was like, I know the craftsmanship and stuff is like why there's price points in that, and there was a small time frame in there that I remember I got a mold, and I actually pressed a couple of decks at that time frame, and they weren't really that good, obviously, but I wound up uh giving it to Vicious what is his name again? I can't remember. Vicious
223
274.
something. I think I know who you're talking about.
Sid. I remember giving it to him in like a trade whenever I got some stuff, but I had bought before that I had bought some Havoc stuff. Like there was a company called Havoc Fingerboards right before all that I bought the decks and stuff from. And I remember getting that stuff, and that was the only wood stuff I had. And then I wound up trading to him, and I wound up getting like introduced to like Class A fingerboards, which is like unheard of now. And slowly, like in there, like I wound up getting a flat face in that time frame.
You remember which flat face board that was?
I'm gonna say I have it actually. Like right now, I still have it. It's a flat face G12, I think, is a
Okay.
G12.
Okay.
And then and then I remember there's a little bit in the time frame in there too that I wound up getting a Berlin wood, and it was like the Berlin wood with the ice cream with the faces on it. I remember getting that one.
I've only had the opportunity of skating one Berlin wood in my time. It's definitely a unique shape. I like the pop that, those boards like just have. It's very unique to pretty much just them. Same with like flat face with his G12s, G15s. Like the pop that those boards produce, they're definitely very unique to those companies. Like it's very unique to him. It's kind of crazy when you think about it.
But yeah, I wound up trading with Vicious, and then he traded me the one decks, and I wound up giving him like a rail for them, and then I was just like, oh, this mold's laying around, and just so happened, like I look at it now, and I'm like, that mold was actually made by Nick's Fingerboards, which is NFB, and it was like when they were just starting with I don't know what it was. It might have been Bondo or something like that. But I just remember like the whole inside of it, of the mold and everything was like perfect. The outside wasn't though. It was like where they had the pour marks on it. And I just remember like I broke it somehow. I broke like the little pegs that were on it. But I didn't really know. Like Mike Schneider even said the same thing in one of his things. He was like, I didn't know what the veneer was called, and I didn't know like there was a paperback veneer and a real veneer, and that was raw. And I wound up getting like the paperback stuff. So every time I glued the boards together, they would just like warp and whatever. So had I actually had the real stuff, it would have probably actually had been real decks and probably would have went further from then on. But I didn't really have anybody that was like a woodworker around me that actually could introduce any of that.
Mentorship is definitely key. That's what I kind of like with our community and stuff. Like if you're trying to get into something like this, there's definitely a lot of outlets and people that can help guide you. For someone like you that's kind of started more in the early days, there really wasn't a lot of people that were kind of willing to kind of just like give you that expertise and stuff for sure.
No, like one of the people like I did where a lot of fingerboarders actually wound up being DIY people from was like Izili and people like that. Now I used to watch Izili and I've talked to him before and talked to him even since he stopped doing YouTube. And he was like one of the people like I wound up, I don't remember discovering in that time frame. I would watch all of his videos and I was like, oh, this guy's just giving all the details away and like he's not really doing anything. And then I think for like a short time after that, he wound up starting to pull some of that back and not showing stuff as much. But I learned like quite a bit whenever he was doing it. And Gator Molds, which I wouldn't say now is like really a great company because it's not owned by the same people anymore. I don't even think he has stuff on there anymore, but he had molds and stuff, and he would show how he'd make them and whatever. And I would wound up seeing him like do it, and I was like, oh, that's pretty neat. Like, what if I bought one of his molds to do it and stuff? That was like at the time frame when I was just like, oh, just buy a mold. It'll be like anything. Like you're not gonna have you don't have to put your name on that shape or whatever, and kind of mindset.
That's interesting how all that kind of just came to be. I mean, how did you come up with Fresh Baked Fingerboards as a name for a company name? I always find it interesting how people come up with their own names.
About it, that's kind of hard to come up with. How like I remember going into like stores and stuff, and you always go over like the bakeries, and they always say like fresh baked daily, like fresh baked goods, or like they'll have like on there like they make so much bread it'll be like oops overbaked. And I remember that, but like all through my childhood, I heard the name like Fresh, which like the Fresh Prince of Bel Air, what was it? There's something else I was just thinking of before, but it was like that. I was always big into like vanilla ice and stuff. And you'd always hear people say like, "Oh, this is fresh," like that's fresh. And I just remember that. And then I was trying to come up with the bake part. Was I believe like I remember there's a part in like Willy Wonka at the beginning where he's like the Candyman's telling him and he's like, "Oh, Willy Wonka makes everything you bake satisfying and delicious." And I was like, what if I was like that person? Like I was like the Willy Wonka of like what I wanted to be. Like this is my thing, and like everything I made, I put like my my ingredients, like my vision into it. And then it was like the whole cookies thing was always just like I was like a huge Sesame Street fan. Like today, like I always think back on like Sesame Street, like the Muppets, like a lot of the Jim Henson stuff I was always big into. So like Cookie Monster, I think kind of influenced the whole thing with the cookie part of it.
So you're hoping to get some golden tickets. I can see. I think that's last year's golden medal back there in the background.
Yeah, right up there.
So you went to the 2021 summer stop in Atlanta last year and picked up gold in best run vert.
2022.
2022. Man, I've been doing this too long. It is 2022. Thanks for correcting me. Yeah, man, those are good times. So we are actually going back to Atlanta this year in 2023. We're going June 4th. So you're going to be a vendor. You've been a tour, like you've been sponsoring basically the tour for the last 3 years, it looks like. So 2021, 2022, now 2023. And so we've got, you've been definitely helping us out and definitely helping out the Atlanta scene. And definitely big kudos to that. I'm stoked for you to come back as a vendor this year. So kind of tell us what you got going on at your vendor table for this year. I know last year you guys had decks, you guys had crazy waxes.
Yeah, we got the waxes. We're hoping to possibly drop ramps and stuff like actually like prototype designed by me. Like all the stuff would be like nothing that I used anybody else's stuff on or like templates or anything. Everything would be like my own design. And like the waxes and stuff where like that was actually me designing the mold and everything and I poured those. And then we're hoping to have like, we got thrash bags and we got level up and stuff still, but hoping to have like a lot of engraved tape, like a lot of stuff like that.
Okay, let's backpedal a little bit to the ramps. That's you know me with parks. Tell us more about
That's
these. Tell us about these obstacles.
so I've slowly been getting into building like ramps and parks, and that's not just like coming off of a one off. This will be like right now is 5 years since I've been making fingerboards, like just last March, which I ain't really announced that yet. But so 5 years in that field, and then prior to that, I took like carpentry and all that in high school for multiple like hundreds of hours. I took all that. So I know how to operate like everything you could give me. So I just came up with the idea. I was like, well, why don't I just go ahead and start making ramps? Because that was one thing too. The only ramp I ever got whenever I got two of them whenever I was a kid. Well, actually three, but two like really high end prototype ones was I got like a rail from Black River and I have a box 7 that I still have. So I would make other ramps, and I remember I made like a little 2 stair that's similar to the little 3 stair that Black River has. And I made that, and I just remember like nailing some nails in and stuff like that, and then like putting paper on at the bottom as non-sliders. And I wound up having like uh, a grandfather that actually like I didn't have a ramp, so he built me like I wanted a big mini, and which that thing's destroyed now because like it wound up one time getting left outside and it got rained on, and it wound up just like popping the wood and warping it and everything.
Oh,
But he
that
made
breaks
me a
my heart.
little, yeah, he made me a little bitty big mini like replica. It wasn't all the way like it, but it had like all these cool things. So I learned like a lot of vert from that. I wound up like remembering like I modified some things on it and sanded some things down. But the whole ramps, when I got the idea on it, was just like I started building other things here and there, and I was just like, why don't I just kind of just try to make my own ramps and then start a ramp company? So right now we have like multiple large amounts of designs that we've been sitting on, like that are actually sketched up by me, and we're hoping to have like most of them all out by before December at least, like before the end of the year. So we're wanting to have like a massive uh ramp company started, and then possibly trying to accommodate parks, like probably sort of like I don't remember what that one guy is that's doing the parts right now that are shippable, like where he cuts them into parts and then I think stacks
Uh,
them.
that's Cali Ramps and Warehouse
Yeah,
Ramps is
Cali
kind of
Ramp.
doing that as well.
Yeah, like starting to do that, and or doing DIY pack ramps, like where we cut everything out and then we give you instructions and then you build the own park yourself.
That would be cool. I'm kind of stoked for this. There's not a lot of people in that just area for fingerboarding. And so, you know, just bringing more options, stuff like that into the more module, I guess is what you're looking at. Type of just putting together obstacles, park, stuff like that. That's pretty good. I like it. I'm excited. This is pretty big news. So all these are going to be basically made out of wood. You're not looking at like concrete or anything like that.
Yeah, we're gonna do concrete too.
Okay.
Possibly
Okay.
concrete, plastic, and wood.
Well, this is huge. Are you going to have samples or prototypes or anything like that at the June 4th Atlanta stop?
Of the one ramps, we're gonna try to of the starter, like the base ramps, we're gonna try to have those out.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to get to see these here. Well, actually, I think when this episode comes out, it'll be this weekend. So I'm excited to see this for this weekend for sure. So the Atlanta stop is coming up soon. You got Austin manning the Fresh Baked Fingerboards vendor booths 2 years in a row, right?
Hmm.
Pretty stoked. So you had a lot of vert experience basically with those obstacles. Is that the reason why you are gold medalist for best run vert. I mean, your run last year, you killed it.
Truly, like, it's not really me. Like, you gotta give like the glory to God on that, because like truly what happened before that, and I already talked to my wife about it, was there was like an accident the day before, and there was like so much emotions and stuff where like our papa wound up passing away, and so like our spirits were like really down. And they say like if you can try to perform in the most hardest moments and just give it your all, that's like whenever a champion arises. And I remember we did it, and I got up there, and I remember doing the thing, and I remember they told my mom, like my mom came, and she'd been like, I did a tech deck contest years back for that one lady, which I forgot all about that, but it was just like a little bitty one. I remember she was there at that one, and I remember we went to it, and then we came to this one. Well, a little time frame before that, she wound up having a massive heart attack, and so she just like barely would have never made it to when we already knew this event was going to take place. So she got to come, so that was all like weighing in that. But then like me and my wife, we had to go like when everything happened, and it was just kind of like where I was kind of in a point of where like I didn't really know what was going on that day, where I had like the actual emotion to be like happy or to compete like I actually wanted to. And I just remember doing somebody saying like, "Oh, he's nervous," and I was just like, "Yeah, I was kind of nervous," but at the same time, I was kind of shocked because some of the tricks I've never actually done like in front of anybody before, or actually had done really openly like that to actually land perfectly. And like I'm always the one that's the stage fright one whenever like there's all these people watching. And then it wasn't even just that, there was like all these people in the room that I actually got to know through past years and stuff. And I always have that mindset. It's like, oh, what if they see you mess up or something like that? And I just remember like doing the run, and then I was just like, I don't think I did that good in that. But I was always like, if I don't win, and I'd prayed about it before and stuff, I was like, if I don't win and somebody else wins, I'm gonna be happy for that other person. Like at least like somebody went out there and got to do something and actually like gets a good feeling out of it, that they at least competed, that they at least tried.
No, you definitely had, you were definitely kind of dedicated that to him. And so I'm glad that, you were able to take the negative thing that happened to you and turn it into a positive. I mean, you actually had some press on that, to be honest with you, right? You were in the paper, I believe.
Yeah, I was in the Chatsworth paper, which is the hometown where I live, and then the Dalton paper. And I remember like I remember what it was kind of like there was a group. We have this like town group, and I remember I posted that I'd won the medal, and then like I made this like cute comment at the end. I was like, "Oh, I guarantee it won't even make the news, or won't even make a newspaper or anything." And next thing you know, like all these people starts liking it, and this guy comments, he's like, "Hey, I'm from the news. I
That's
want the
awesome.
story." He's like, "I want the story," and then this other guy pops in. I think he emails me or whatever, or somebody tags something. I click on the thing, and this other guy comments. He's like, "Hey, I want the story too. We're from this other paper." And they wound up. The one guy wound up like waiting, and it went to like another week's paper. One of them did, like one of them passed it up for a week and posted it on a different week, and then this one guy's like, "Hey, I'll go ahead and post it this week." So like it was like a couple days after the event, he already had the story posted.
So you basically just turned a meme and it just kind of went viral. That's interesting for sure. So I thought that's crazy. So yeah, you got a lot of publicity, you got a lot of press. I know you got some eyeballs looking on the Atlanta area and stuff like that with you being a medalist and us coming into town, stuff like that. It was pretty cool to kind of get that recognition from the outside world. Fingerboarding has been so kind of like, small scaled and stuff. And so whenever you get like newspapers and outlets and stuff like that talking about it, it's always a cool thing.
Yeah, like uh, I had a lot of people like in high school, which I whenever the paper came out like that, I was like, yeah, now you see, like in high school, and I was like, oh, this kid's gonna go nowhere with this. Like there's people. I remember there's a guy that told me whenever I was in this one class with him. So, oh, this guy's gonna one day, you're gonna see him. He'll have like his own little shoe brand or whatever, and he's gonna have his own little decks and stuff. And he's gonna be like flipping us little birds with his fingers as he goes by on his little skateboard or whatever. He's like, this guy's gonna do whatever. And I think back on that all the time. I'm like, kind of did do it. I'm like, it's in the paper now. Like everybody's seen it. All these people that doubted it.
You showed them. Always got to have the last laugh. You've got a ramp company coming up. I know you're talking about you're 5 years in this year. So are you gonna
Mhm.
have any five year decks? Anything kind of crazy? Anything in the pipeline for the future?
We may or may not. I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to do it, but probably have like at least special laser graphic text for the 5 year anniversary. And don't know if I want to possibly like pull the same thing that Flatface just did and whoever that other one was that where they released them at Rendezvous and there was like a limited supply number of them that they could be released at the Atlanta stop,
That'd be
and that would be
cool.
like the only place that you would get them because that's technically connected with hometown. So it would possibly like be a GA thing only.
That'd be cool to do a just a Georgia version of a year five for you. I'm only 3 years in, so I got two more before I can hit a cool milestone type ordeal. But you're in the right now though, so you got a lot of different options, stuff like that you can do. I'm stoked. I mean, 5 years is a big accomplishment for anything that you do in life. That's a lot of dedication, a lot of hard work, a lot of innovation, a lot of trial and error. So I mean, my hat's off to you for sure for sticking it in for so long and just doing your thing, man. And your decks, I mean, they're fire. The quality, side plies, everything is on point. And so I'm pretty stoked to see you once again this summer and this weekend theoretically. And basically we're gonna host a huge event. You're gonna be able to get some fresh baked fingerboards gear. So we're talking waxes, obstacles, decks, laser engraved stuff. I mean, go ahead and let everybody know what they can expect this weekend.
Yeah, you're gonna expect like a lot of like I've heard people say this before, like, oh, you got the best craftsmanship. But I've always told people this like mindset on the whole craftsmanship thing. It's the I'm biased when it comes to something I don't like. I believe that nobody else will like because I'm not putting my best in it and giving like so if I don't actually think it's the best, then why would I pass it off to anybody else and say, well, this is like good enough? So most of my stuff's going to be at the point where, like, I was in looking at this one thing for like an hour or two, sanding it every time, looking at it, making sure it was right. So you're going to get like the highest quality there's going to be because, like, everything I do is all professional grade. Like, every tool, everything is all used is professional grade.
Oh, I feel that for sure. So where can people find you? Is it just Instagram or are you in any other platforms?
I've got a TikTok, which is the Baker Man 7 on TikTok, Fresh Baked Fingerboards on Instagram. I have a Facebook because I wound up getting hacked before, and it was originally Fresh Baked Fingerboards, and somebody hacked it because I had it linked with my old account. But now it's Fresh Baked Fingerboards 2.0 on Facebook. I think that's the only socials I got right now. And then the website was freshbakedfingerboards.org, I believe. Like somehow I wound up getting a .org instead of a .com.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna have all of those links in the description, along with all the links and stuff for United States Fingerboarding League and the tour. Austin, we any shout outs? Any
Truly want to give, like, they say, like, uh you always have like the one person, like, that'll carry you through a lot of it. And like, if like my mom used to tell me all the time, it's like, oh, if you have one friend and that's like the best friend you have your whole life, then that's a good enough friend. Right now, that's actually starting a company, and he's actually fixing to start making a lot more waves in the scene. Is Mason Baker right now? Too Fat to Crust on Instagram. He's starting up Fathers, which that's apparently going to be, what I hear is like one of the next big stores in the fingerboard scene. And then you got like Ant, who started Sewer Alien and just got on the team. Eric Herrera just got on the Fathers team, and he's got Sweaty Fingers right now. I can't remember who else am I missing. There's some other people, and you got Baldy with I
Baldy
can't remember
Grit?
his name.
Baldy
Baldy, yeah,
Grit? Yeah, Digits UK.
Digits UK. You got Baldy with Digits UK. That's on the Fathers team. Uh, Truly, there's a lot of people right now that are like coming out that I'm seeing, like that one company, Milkshake one.
Milk
He's doing
Fingerboards.
yeah, that kid's actually doing some stuff that's like
Or is it
just starting
Milkshake?
out. Huh?
Is it Milkshake?
Yeah, it's Milkshake Fingerboards.
Gotcha.
I think that's who it is. That kid's actually starting out pretty well on there. And I'm seeing a lot of companies actually starting in the small areas and stuff, and they're starting to pop up everywhere. I want to say, yeah, that's who right now who I'm really aimed at being and working with right now is those guys, because all of them have a different, like, they all have a different personality to bring to the table. Like, Mason picked up Skies, and Skies is like probably one of the best fingerboarders I've seen in a while. That's actually like, he's got the style, he's got the creativity, he's got the flow with everything. And he picked up like a whole bunch of us and kind of made like the way I'm trying to do right now. Like, and I want to secretly drop that William Cunningham is fixing to start riding for us, which he'll be at the Atlanta. And I think his Instagram is Gummy with a FB. And then you got Teddy Owens with Trash Boat. Those guys, like, all of us are starting to do the same thing that Stacy Peralta had, which was like the Bones Brigade. Like, it didn't matter what age you were. The kind of the mindset that I like is, most of us on the Fathers team are a bit older, but like, if you get these kids that are like just up and coming into the skateboarding, they're so full invested into it. And if like somebody, like, plants the seed like right then and waters it, and it's like, hey, I'll give you the boards, I'll give you whatever. These kids will actually like be inspired by it, and they'll keep going and wanting more of it, and then they'll take it seriously. Like, it's hard to sponsor an adult, like somebody that's already 20s, 30s, whatever, because most of them is just like, yeah, I'm about this, but it's just not something I want to take serious. But most of the people that we're working with right now, like, are all really invested. Like, it's not something they would just pick up today and then be like, a month from now, this isn't something I'm really invested in. Like, those kids are like really invested in fingerboarding. Like, they care about how, like, I seen Teddy was talking about the one trick that he missed at the one thing. Like, he was so upset, and he's like, I need to do better next time. That's the way like Mason is with us. He's like, like, if you mess up, you've got to try, try, try. Like, you can't like not beat yourself up about it, but like beat yourself up and be like, work harder for the next trick, like the next opportunity on it. That's the way all of us are doing right now. Like, we all get mad about like a certain thing, but like, if we like meditate on that one thing and like, let it come to pass, we're really invested in this. Like, this is something like we eat, sleep, and breathe in this whole thing of professional fingerboarding, not just like fingerboarding in general. Because like people like me and Mason and them like that, like we take this like as this is something like we do every day. Like this is just not something like we pull out when we're like bored and we want to do something. This is like the medals and everything. Like we have something by that time. By those medals, like it gives us some kind of energy to want to keep going further. Like we would like to see this in the Olympics or something like that eventually. Like this isn't like a little toy anymore. It's kind of from where Mike Schneider and them have took it. It's kind of like further into the point where it can't not keep going up because we're building it too high. I just want to see like more people invest like that and just believe like whether the team takes off, at least one or two of the members take the team off or they take off from it and like they take fingerboarding more seriously because a lot of the people in fingerboarding today they come out and they think it's just like some kind of novelty and stuff, and to a lot of us it's not. It's like it's a way of life, it's a lifestyle for us. Like you can't really like take it from us because we've had it so long, and we'll fight somebody for the things we have, like the medals and stuff like that. Like I have to try to actually uphold the medal that I got because there's a lot of people that look up to how I actually did that, how Mason did that, how Teddy did that, how Diego did that. Like a lot of these guys actually tried their best to actually prove something, and none of them left anything out there. Truly, like
They
they
fought
took
hard.
something. Yeah, they took something from it. They took whether it was like they took the emotions from it and they studied harder and they learned harder, or they took like maybe I want to be serious and be sponsored and I want to represent a company, and maybe if eventually this takes off I'll represent that company or another company and I go into a professional league like the Olympics or something, and then one day like I'm on TV and I'm like center stage because of it, because I actually took this seriously. But we need a lot more people like how Mason is, like having a great mindset to no matter if like you've said this or said that, like leave it in the past if it needs to be in the past, and don't leave anything on the table whenever you're going to take away or not take away from it. Like just invest more of yourself in it.
No, I feel that for sure. We're also, I mean, that area in general, like just the Atlanta area, it's growing. There's events and stuff like that that are happening. We host events. A few other people are also hosting events in that area. I know Zeg Heads, he's not exactly in Atlanta, but he's not too far away. And so the community in that region is just, it's growing. It's growing fast. And there's a lot of people on this being adopted into it for sure. So I'm excited to see where this takes us here in the next year or two for sure. All right, Austin, I appreciate you coming on to the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. All
Thank you
right,
for having me.
no worries. Till next time.
Till next time.